repercussions of violating somebody else's rights?
Okay, there's a couple of things there. Start with you, Mr. Shozi.
Thanks, Peter. The Commission for Gender Equality, for example, we have an education program which runs around the country, around educating. Remember, the Commission is a constitutional body. We also work with other chapter institutions around this. We have a forum where we educate the public about their rights, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the international instruments, and so on. We also educate them about the services that they can get, because what Lisa is saying is that we must also be able to provide a range of services that people could actually access if they have a problem. So there's a lot that we're also doing around that. And in partnership with other state organizations, for example, I know that the minister is initiating dialogues around some of these issues as well, which all of us were going to support. What is also critical is in educating, we also conduct research that informs the work that we do. Where are the hotspots of gender-based violence? For example, the launch of the 16 Tales of Activism by the Minister and the President was in Northwest and one of the hotspots. And therefore, we're able to go to zoom in to those hotspots and educate and also give services to different communities so that they will be able to access these services. When we do that, we don't work alone as well, because we have to work with the criminal justice system, we have to work with the prosecutors and so on. We have to actually work with a number of NGOs around these issues. There are very good NGOs as well who are providing services around even issues around maintenance issues, because maintenance is also economic abuse. Even around that, we also work with NGOs and government to ensure that young children are also fed by their mothers and fathers. So there's a range of issues, also education programs on the media as well, working with community radio stations and big stations like SABC and so on, so that we are able to get the message across. But sometimes I think we are, as a country, when people actually know exactly what they're supposed to do, they utilize those services. But again, what is also important is follow-ups, which I think is also lacking. It's important that when you go to a community, you also go up, back again, you follow up, you also see whether this is actually assisted those people. So there's a lot that we're doing as different organizations around educating young girls, around educating elderly people and so on. We also have a program as a Gender Commission with traditional leadership. We have actually signed memorandum of understandings with them to actually engage them as well on these issues and also engage their communities. Now we have access in those communities. Sometimes it's difficult to go in the communities because we have to actually ask a permission from the chief. And rural people, they still believe in traditional leadership. If the chief is saying, no, we can't go in, they're not going to come to a workshop, they're going to be alone. And therefore it's important for us to engage traditional leaders as well to understand. We're also happy to announce that the traditional leadership themselves, they've actually started to have the gender desk within their own structures, which assist us to actually educate them. Even on the issue of Fukutwala, for example, if you see the definition now, they're beginning to understand why we're questioning the issue of Fukutwala. And the Western Cape case has actually assisted us around the issues of virginity testing and so on, as much as we know that there's a legislation that is actually regulating that. But we're able to educate these people around these issues, about choices as well, because to say, and I know in one of the high schools in Durban, Westville Girls High School, girls are being tested as well. They're also forcing other girls to be tested, you know, and to say if we don't want to be tested, it means we have something to hide. You know, those are critical issues as well. Not that this only happens to uneducated people, even high-class people who are actually highly educated, even femicide and violence against women. It's also happening in all those, and it's important for us to actually deal with those issues at all the levels.
All right. One area we haven't really spoken about a lot are the children, and they have rights they don't know about. How do we reach them? Because, you know, I think it's in the book of Proverbs where they say, spare the rod, spoil the child. And we believe that we can not raise our children without disciplining them. And that now starts to be, how much is discipline? Do you smack? Do you hit? Do you not touch at all? And then the child, how on earth is a child supposed to know that they have protection and they can say no to this?
I think, Peter, the most important thing is how we're brought up. Completely different. And we as parents now, we've got to adapt and understand that the situation is different. And one of the critical issues which are important for all of us as parents, it's conversing with our children. Very key, very key. You know, the environment, we all busy, we've got stresses, but there's little time for our families. We need to find quality time in interacting with our children, for our children to understand what is right and what is wrong. Because when we do that, it complements the school.
But
we don't leave it to
the father's the one that's hitting the child. What conversation are they going to have?
Well, that is why it's high time for the fathers too to start conversing not only with the boys, also with the girl child. Because if the conversation continues within the family...
Let me put it to you another way. I am 7 years old, I'm 8 years old, my father is beating me viciously.
Well, there are two parents, there's a mother. What do you do when the father starts beating a child to a point that the child starts freaking out? And each time the father comes, the child goes under the table. There's something wrong. So it takes two parents to nurture a child. And abusive tendencies must be realized. And I don't think it only leaves that to the family. If you're an observer, a neighbor, you've got to blow the whistle in helping that child, because you can't say there's nothing I can do, because there are childline protections and all those kind. We must utilize all those instruments which are there in assisting in building the children. But the key to it is that parents have a responsibility, because where we are, we think that it's the other way around. The kids, they get everything from school. No, it goes both ways in nurturing a child. So for me, that's very important in parents too taking responsibility instead of leaving it to the school.
Okay, Mr. Shozi, another vulnerable group are the disabled or people with disabilities that are often abused. I've seen it happen sadly quite often, particularly ones with perhaps mental disabilities who don't quite understand what's going on, that are abused by people in the community, and those that are physically disabled that can't defend themselves. How do we protect this group in particular?
Definitely the issue of, that's a very important question, Peter. The issue of disabled women and disabled people at large is critical. There's also economic abuse relating to that. And it's important for people that live with those people as well to begin to assist them. In most of the cases, the perpetrators are close relatives as well. It's important, but as a country, we have laws as well that are actually assisting all of us to deal with that particular case. But it's important for those people as well to utilize the services, the NGOs, the government, to report such cases as well, so they could be assisted as well. And I think the neighbors as well, if they see those things happening, they must also begin, and I know what Lisa said, we must also begin to report so that they could be assisted. There is, I think, the issue of violence against disabled people is a critical issue, and it must also occupy as the center stage so that we are able to actually assist them.
Okay. Table number 2 will find Prudence Mabele. Okay, Prudence.
Hello, I'm Prudence Mabele from Positive Women's Network. My issue is very simple. I think we need to take these social ills and package them. Like, for instance, right now in South Africa, we are leading with HIV and AIDS at the age of 10 to 19, 2,343 girls are getting infected weekly. What are we doing as the country? And connect what happened in Mfanozelwe, where under 10 years raped those two girls. So my issue is we are at a stage where we need to stand strong as communities and say this is not going to be accepted in our own townships, in our own rural areas, and we have to join hands. Churches, traditional leaders, traditional healers, and even if it's not about what the messaging is, but what can be accepted. I was very afraid as a young, growing up. Mangbona umam Kize coming. Oh, I can't be next to this boy. What are the messaging that we want to see our kids growing as? If under 10s can rape little girls and we're doing nothing. In Vosloorus, it's normal, it's just usual. Why are we not outraged to say, where did they see this? Let's have community dialogues. Let's check exactly why? Why is it porno? Is it the TV that we expose our children? Let's answer some of those questions, because as South Africa, we cannot lead. We are killing. Any couple, they come from England, they kill. They choose South Africa to come and kill. Where are we? Where are we?
Okay.
We need to fight more than what we are doing. Because educating, we sound like we are polite. We need to stand strong. The same way they said fees must fall. We need to be like that when it comes to these issues. We are allowing everything to be out of hand. You will see, even the abusers won't come here. You keep opening the newspaper, you see a very same sister.
All right. I'm going to have to wrap you up, but I think your message has come through loud and clear. And we're going to start wrapping up, but I do want to hear from, I can't quite read your surname here, Bishop Tabile, you're on table number 4. Because the church sometimes isn't the safe haven that we think that it is. Okay, if you could just stand up and just say your full name for everybody.
Good morning. My name is Tabile. Good morning, Minister and the leadership. My concern is simple. We assume that abuse only happens somewhere else. In the church, we do have people who are abused by the ministers, their husband, but they portray this image of everything is well because they protect the husband, they protect the society, that they think everything is okay in the church. And again, the follow-up question is that the churches today, we see them making people to eat grass, making people to do weird things. So we need to do introspection. Start by educating ourselves, the moral, the integrity, the humanity, and bring all those good values. And I also want to touch the other issue that MEC spoke about the men who are abusing children. We are running an NGO. Church is an NGO.
All right.
We do have...
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Okay. So I think the most important point has come through. And I'm just going to ask you both to wrap up in 30 seconds, incorporating what you've heard there and your final thoughts. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. Let me start with you, Minister.
I think the message I want to say to all South Africans, we are saying they must be counted in fighting this violence against women and children. And the points raised about us coming together, it's very important. Making sure that violence against women must fall must be the call for all of us. It can't be about some. And linked to that, issues of HIV needs to be brought on board as campaigns. The issue of sugar daddies, we must commit that sugar daddies must be done away with because they infect our children.
20 seconds.
Peter, for us as a General Commission, we really request the public to comment, to actually launch their complaints with us on 0800 number 007709, so that we are able to deal with their own complaints.
All right, and that's where we're going to have to leave it. But this is a conversation. Please continue to have every single day, and don't just watch, do something. If you're scared, phone the police and tell them what's going on. Thank you very much for watching. Please, let's stay conscious with this. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
All right, there you go, bringing us to the end of this TNA here on this Monday morning. A very powerful message being portrayed there by the Minister, Susan Shabangu, as well as the audience that are gathered there, just expressing their worries and concerns about the abuse of women and children in South Africa.